My beloved child, pause here for a moment. Do not move past these words as though they are ordinary, because something has been waiting to reach you, and tonight the silence around your heart is about to reveal what it has been hiding. You did not arrive here by accident. You were guided to this message at the exact moment when a secret became too heavy for someone connected to your soul to carry alone. While you have been trying to understand the distance, the confusion, the sudden changes, and the emotions you could never fully explain, your soulmate has been fighting tears over something they never wanted you to know. Stay with me, because what appears to be sadness is only the surface. Beneath those tears is a truth that has been growing in darkness, a truth they believed they could keep buried forever. They tried to silence it. They tried to distract themselves from it. They tried to convince their own heart that revealing it would only make everything worse. But secrets do not disappear simply because they are hidden. Sometimes they become louder in the quiet. Sometimes they begin to show themselves through sleepless nights, unfinished messages, sudden memories, and tears that fall when no one is watching. Your soulmate has been experiencing all of these things. There was a moment recently when they were alone, surrounded by silence, and something inside them finally broke open. It may have happened late at night, when the world had become still and there was no one left to impress. It may have happened while they were looking at an old photograph, listening to a song, reading a message, or remembering a conversation that once seemed small but now carries a painful meaning. Whatever caused it, their defenses weakened. The walls they had carefully built began to crack, and your name rose inside their heart with a force they could no longer control. They cried, but not only because they miss you. That is the first thing you must understand. Their tears are connected to something deeper than longing. They are grieving the version of the truth they allowed you to believe. They are grieving the moments when they could have spoken honestly but chose silence instead. They are grieving the distance created by what they did not say. And most of all, they are afraid that when you finally learn the secret, you may look at everything between you differently. Do not skip what comes next, because the truth is not what you have been imagining. You may have believed the secret involved another person. You may have wondered whether their heart had changed, whether they had forgotten you, or whether their silence meant they no longer cared. You may have replayed the past, searching for the exact moment when something went wrong. Yet heaven has seen what you could not see. The distance was never proof that your connection meant nothing. In many ways, the distance became so intense because the connection meant more than they were prepared to face. They were not running from the absence of feeling. They were running from the strength of it. There are people who can easily speak when they do not care deeply. Their words flow because there is little at risk. But when a soul encounters a connection that reaches beyond ordinary attraction, fear can rise beside love. The heart recognizes something precious, and the mind immediately becomes terrified of losing it. Your soulmate felt that fear. They sensed that you could see beyond their surface. They sensed that you could awaken parts of them they had kept hidden even from themselves. And instead of stepping closer, they became uncertain, guarded, and difficult to understand. But the secret is not simply that they were afraid of loving you. There is more. Something happened before the distance grew. Something they have replayed in their mind again and again. It was a decision, a conversation, or a moment of hesitation that changed the direction of your connection. At the time, they told themselves they were doing what was necessary. They may have believed they were protecting you. They may have believed they were protecting themselves. They may even have believed that time would erase what they felt. But instead of disappearing, the truth deepened. And now they are beginning to realize the cost of that choice. There is a sentence they wish they could take back. There is a silence they wish they could fill. There is a moment when they saw the pain in your eyes, heard the change in your voice, or felt your energy pull away, and still they did not tell you what was really happening. That memory has followed them. It has appeared when they least expected it. It has entered their dreams. It has interrupted their happiest moments. It has reminded them that you walked away from that moment without the full truth. They never wanted you to know how much power that moment still holds over them. They wanted you to believe they had moved on easily. They wanted you to think they were unaffected. They wanted to appear strong, certain, and in control. Yet behind that appearance was someone who kept returning to the same question: what would have happened if I had told the truth? This question has become a wound. And recently, that wound opened. The tears you are being told about did not come from nowhere. They came after your soulmate saw or heard something that made them believe they might truly lose the chance to make things right. Perhaps they sensed you becoming stronger. Perhaps they realized you were no longer waiting in the same way. Perhaps someone mentioned your name, and the emotion in their heart rose too quickly to hide. Perhaps they imagined you building a life where their absence no longer hurts you. And for the first time, they understood that silence does not preserve a connection. Silence can slowly surrender it. That realization frightened them. Not because they want to control you, but because they know they have not given you the truth you deserved. Your soulmate's secret is connected to why they pulled away, but it is also connected to why they have never fully released you. They tried to separate the two. They tried to say, "I can care from a distance. I can keep this hidden. I can move forward without reopening what happened." But the heart does not obey every command the mind gives it. Each time they tried to close the door, something reminded them of you. A familiar place. A repeated number. A dream that felt too real. A phrase you once said. A sudden feeling in their chest. A moment when they reached for their phone and stopped themselves before typing your name. These were not random to them. Even when they tried to dismiss them, something inside knew the connection was unfinished. You have felt unfinished energy too. There were days when you believed you were finally letting go, yet an unexpected wave of emotion returned. There were moments when you felt their presence without a message, their sadness without an explanation, their nearness despite the physical distance. You questioned yourself. You wondered whether you were holding onto something that existed only in memory. But part of what you felt was the echo of a truth still trying to reach the surface. This does not mean you must abandon your wisdom or ignore reality. Heaven is not asking you to chase confusion. You are being asked to see clearly. There is a difference between waiting in pain and understanding what has been hidden. The purpose of this message is not to keep you trapped in uncertainty. It is to prepare your heart for a truth that may soon arrive in an unexpected form. Because your soulmate has reached a turning point. They are no longer asking whether they can keep the secret. They are asking whether they can survive the regret of never telling you. That change matters. For a long time, fear had the stronger voice. Fear told them you would misunderstand. Fear told them the timing was wrong. Fear told them their past, their circumstances, their responsibilities, or their mistakes had made honesty impossible. Fear told them it was safer to let you believe something incomplete than to risk showing you the vulnerable truth. But fear has begun to lose its control. The tears are evidence of that. When a person cries over a hidden truth, it is often because the burden has become heavier than the consequences of confession. Your soulmate is approaching that place. They can feel the secret changing them. It has made them quieter. It has made them reflect on choices they once defended. It has forced them to confront the difference between what they showed you and what they truly felt. And there is one detail they have never admitted. When they created distance, they expected you to fight harder to stay. This may be difficult to hear, but remain with me. They did not necessarily want to lose you. Part of them believed that if the connection was real, you would somehow see through their walls. They believed you would understand what they could not say. They believed you would continue reaching for them even while they gave you reasons to stop. But you are not responsible for reading a truth they refuse to speak. You were not meant to prove your love by accepting endless confusion. Your soulmate is beginning to understand this now. They are realizing that your silence was not indifference. Your silence may have been exhaustion. Your distance may have been self-respect. Your change may have been the moment you finally chose to protect the heart they had left uncertain. And this realization has created a different kind of grief inside them. They thought they were testing the connection. Instead, they may have wounded it. They thought they were buying time. Instead, they may have taught you how to live without their honesty. This is why the tears feel so intense. They are not only crying over what happened. They are crying over what may no longer be possible in the same way. They know that even if they tell the truth, they cannot demand that you respond as the person you once were. You have changed. You have learned. You have carried pain they did not fully witness. And now they fear that the secret arriving late may not repair what silence damaged. Yet something extraordinary is unfolding inside them. The fear of losing you is becoming stronger than the fear of being seen. This is the spiritual turning point. A guarded heart does not open because it suddenly becomes fearless. It opens because love finally becomes more important than protection. Your soulmate is standing close to that threshold. They have begun imagining the conversation. They have practiced words in their mind. They have formed messages and erased them. They have pictured your face when you hear the truth. They have wondered whether you will become silent, angry, relieved, or emotional. But every time they try to imagine the outcome, one part of the secret stops them. This part is the deepest layer. It is not only about what they did. It is about what they believed they had to sacrifice. Your soulmate once made a choice that they thought would keep peace around them. There may have been pressure from family, expectations from others, fear about reputation, uncertainty about timing, or a responsibility they did not know how to explain. They may have been influenced by someone who questioned the connection. They may have been told that loving you would complicate their life. They may have listened to advice that sounded sensible but did not honor what their heart knew. They never wanted you to know how much outside influence affected their decision. They wanted you to believe the choice was entirely theirs. Why? Because admitting that others influenced them would mean admitting they were not as strong as they pretended to be. It would mean confessing that they allowed fear, pressure, or doubt to become louder than their own soul. It would mean facing the possibility that they hurt you not because they felt nothing, but because they did not have the courage to protect what they felt. This is the secret that brings shame to their tears. They did not stop caring. They stopped defending the connection. And now they understand the difference. There was a time when someone asked them about you. Their answer did not reveal the whole truth. They minimized what you meant. They may have said it was nothing serious. They may have acted uncertain. They may have remained silent while others misunderstood you. They may even have allowed a false story to continue because correcting it would have exposed how deeply they were affected. That moment has haunted them. Because the truth was very different. Inside, they wanted to say that you had reached a part of their heart no one else had touched. They wanted to say that your presence made them feel seen and frightened at the same time. They wanted to say that losing you would not be easy. But instead, they chose words that protected their image. Later, when they were alone, they felt the weight of what they had done. This was one of the first moments when they cried over the secret. But even then, they did not confess. They believed another opportunity would come. They believed there would be more time. They believed the connection would remain available until they were ready. My child, one of the hardest lessons a soul can learn is that love may be patient, but moments are not permanent. Opportunities change. Hearts heal. People who once waited begin to move differently. Your soulmate is learning this lesson now, and it is shaking them more deeply than you know. They have noticed signs of your transformation. Even if they cannot see your daily life, they feel that something in you has shifted. You are becoming less willing to beg for clarity. You are becoming less interested in decoding mixed signals. You are learning that love should not require you to abandon your peace. This new strength in you is beautiful, but to them it feels like a clock has started ticking. They can no longer assume you will remain emotionally where they left you. That is why the secret is pushing toward the surface. Yet before they speak, there is something you must prepare for. The confession may not arrive in a perfect form. It may not sound like a dramatic speech. It may begin with a simple question, an unexpected apology, a reference to the past, or a message that seems casual at first. Your soulmate may test the emotional space before revealing everything. They may ask how you are. They may mention a memory. They may say they have been thinking about you. Do not mistake the small opening for the whole truth. There will be more behind it. Their first words may be cautious because the real confession feels enormous to them. They are afraid that once the door opens, they will lose control of everything they have contained. They are afraid their voice will shake. They are afraid they will cry. They are afraid you will hear the regret they worked so hard to hide. And most of all, they are afraid you will ask one question they do not know how to answer. Why did you wait so long? They have asked themselves this question countless times. The answer is complicated. They waited because they were afraid. They waited because they hoped the feeling would fade. They waited because other people's opinions became too loud. They waited because they did not believe they were ready for the depth of the connection. They waited because telling you the truth would have required them to change. And now they are crying because time has exposed every excuse. Nothing they used to justify the silence has given them peace. The secret remained. The love remained. The regret grew. You may be wondering whether this means they are ready to return immediately. Do not rush ahead of the unfolding. A heart can awaken before a person knows how to act. Their tears reveal movement, but movement must become courage. Courage must become honesty. Honesty must become consistent action. You are not being asked to accept promises without proof. Heaven is revealing their inner state so you will not confuse their struggle with your worth. Their silence was never evidence that you were unlovable. Their hesitation was never evidence that you lacked value. Their fear was never a reflection of your beauty, your heart, or your ability to be chosen. You were standing in front of someone who felt deeply but had not yet learned how to hold deep love with maturity. That is the truth. And perhaps part of your own healing begins here. You spent too long questioning what you could have done differently. You examined your words, your timing, your needs, and your emotions. You wondered whether you were too much or not enough. You tried to become easier to understand, easier to love, easier to choose. But the hidden struggle was not created by a flaw in you. The connection awakened a responsibility in them that they were not ready to face. To love you honestly, they would have needed to confront patterns they had carried for years. They would have needed to stop hiding behind control. They would have needed to speak against pressure. They would have needed to risk disappointment, judgment, and change. They would have needed to become a more truthful version of themselves. They were not ready then. But something is happening now. The pain of remaining the same has become greater than the fear of transformation. This is why you may begin noticing unusual shifts. You may dream of them more vividly. You may hear a phrase that reminds you of an unfinished conversation. You may feel calm where you once felt anxious, because the energy is moving from confusion toward revelation. You may also feel an unexpected emotional heaviness that does not seem connected to your own thoughts. Remain grounded. You do not need to chase every sign. What is meant to be revealed must eventually enter reality through truth and action. Still, heaven is asking you not to close your heart with bitterness. Guard it with wisdom, yes. Honor your boundaries, yes. But do not let their fear teach you that genuine love does not exist. Their inability to express love properly does not reduce the sacredness of your capacity to feel it. You were never foolish for caring. You were brave. But bravery must now include discernment. When the confession comes, listen not only to the emotion in their voice but to the responsibility in their words. Do they acknowledge what happened? Do they understand how the silence affected you? Are they willing to stop blaming timing, circumstances, or other people? Are they prepared to choose differently? These questions will matter. Because tears can reveal pain, but only truth can create healing. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that crying alone will not change the story. They can no longer hide behind private regret and expect you to feel it. They must bring the secret into the light. They must tell you what they concealed, why they concealed it, and what they are willing to do now. They know this. And that knowledge is creating urgency. There is a message they have considered sending. The words have changed many times. At first, it was defensive. Then it became apologetic. Then it became honest. Each version brought them closer to the sentence they have avoided for so long. A sentence about what truly happened when they walked away. A sentence about the person who influenced them. A sentence about the promise they made while their heart was still attached to you. Yes, my child, there was a promise. It may not be the kind of promise you are imagining. It may have been a promise to family, a promise to themselves, a promise connected to a responsibility, or a promise made under emotional pressure. But this promise became a chain. It forced them to act in ways that contradicted their heart. They thought keeping it would make them honorable. Instead, it created a life divided between duty and truth. They never wanted you to know about this promise because they feared you would see their choice as betrayal. And perhaps part of it was. But the full story is not yet visible. There is another reason they kept it hidden. The promise was made after someone revealed something about you, something your soulmate later discovered was not completely true. That discovery changed everything. At first, they trusted what they were told. They believed they were making a wise decision. They believed distance was necessary. But with time, inconsistencies appeared. Details did not match. The person who influenced them began changing their story. And your soulmate slowly realized they may have allowed a misunderstanding to shape one of the most important choices of their life. When the truth began to emerge, they felt ashamed. They could not easily return to you and admit that they had doubted you. They could not easily confess that they listened to another voice instead of speaking directly to you. So they stayed silent. And the longer they stayed silent, the harder it became to explain. This is the secret beneath the secret. They are not only crying because they hid their feelings. They are crying because they may have judged you through a story that was never yours. Do not let anger close your ears yet. The revelation is still unfolding. They did not believe the story because they wanted to think badly of you. They believed it because it touched one of their deepest fears. Someone knew where they were vulnerable. Someone understood what could make them retreat. And whether the influence was intentional or careless, the result was the same. Your soulmate began questioning what their own heart had experienced. But their soul never fully accepted the lie. That is why they could not forget you. Even when their mind repeated the doubts, their heart remembered your sincerity. It remembered your eyes, your energy, your patience, and the moments when your actions spoke more clearly than anyone else's words. Over time, the difference between the story they heard and the person they knew became impossible to ignore. They began searching for answers quietly. They revisited conversations. They noticed what they had previously overlooked. They remembered who had benefited from the distance between you. And recently, one final detail surfaced. A detail so clear that they could no longer pretend the misunderstanding was harmless. When they discovered it, they did not become angry first. They became silent. Then their hands began to tremble. Then they cried. Because in that moment, they understood exactly what the hidden story had cost them. They understood that you may have carried blame for something you never did. They understood that you may have waited for an explanation while they were protecting the very people or circumstances that created the confusion. They understood that every day of silence allowed the false story to remain stronger than the truth. Now they want to tell you. But there is one final obstacle. The person connected to the secret knows that your soulmate has discovered the truth. And before your soulmate can reach you, that person may try to speak first. Your soulmate is terrified that the story will be twisted again. They fear you will hear another version before they find the courage to reveal everything. This is why the urgency around you has increased. This is why their emotions have become difficult to contain. This is why they are crying over a secret they never wanted you to know. Because the secret is no longer safely hidden. It is moving toward you. And the next thing your soulmate reveals will not only explain why they walked away. It will expose who convinced them to do it, and the shocking reason that person was so afraid of your connection.